What up, what up? It's the Athletic Hockey Show, November 20th. It's a Thursday. I'm Sean Gentille. I am joined today. I always love a Jesse day. I always love doing the show with you, brother. Jesse Granger, how we doing? You had a late night last night, I heard.
I'm doing good. I love coming on with you. Yes, I did. I had a late night. Anyone out there listening that plays beer league knows how late those games can get. So yes, it was a late night, but it was playing hockey, so no complaints.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna talk about. It's crazy. We're at the quarter mark of the season already, officially hitting it tonight. I love those early morning emails from the NHL where they sum all this stuff up. 328 games will have been played at some point this evening, which means they will officially be at the quarter mark for the league. We thought that'd be a good time to take stock of some surprising teams and surprising players. We're going to do that in segment 3. Also, Hailey Salvian's here to talk PWHL. Obviously, she's typically steering the ship here, does a much more capable job than I. She is in Vancouver, I think, right now, doing preseason work for the PWHL, just doing some, bopping around place to place, checking in with those teams. We're going to check in with her. She's going to get you up to speed on the PWHL stuff in segment 3. But to start things off, we want to talk about a couple games last night. We're going to start with Caps Oilers. It's a 7-4 Caps win. Jess, that was a weird game. We'll talk about the Caps in a second, but I think we need to start with, since you're here and he's your boy, we got to start with what we saw from Stuart Skinner last night, because it wasn't very good.
It hasn't been very good this season, and it hasn't been very good in front of him either. To a little bit of his defense, I guess. The Oilers are a weird team. I see people on social media calling them the October Oilers, because we get this at the beginning of the year every season. For some reason they can't get off to that good start. There's something about this team that they have to be chasing in the standings, and they're already doing it this season. Luckily for them, the standings are separated by 2 points from first place to last at this point in the NHL, but it hasn't looked good, and they've been giving up lots of early goals, to go back to Stuart Skinner. It happened again last night. I think it was 6 minutes in. They were down 2-0 to the Capitals, and it just feels like this team. I've watched a lot of Oilers games recently, and it always seems like they're chasing the score. And they've got the players, obviously, to do it, but it's not a recipe to win a lot of games regularly in the NHL. You're going to be able to overcome some deficits every once in a while, but that can't be the way you win every night.
Yeah, and when you're chasing the score like they were early in that, your margin for errors next to nothing. Because they beat Washington at 5-on-5 in a lot of respects last night. They outchanced them 34-21. They won the high danger battle significantly. Expected goals easily in their favor, but that comes with a big asterisk, right? That you give up two early ones, and certainly ones you'd rather have back. I thought that was a big game for the Caps too. I think they needed that. I think we saw some degree of frustration start to seep in there over the last little bit. Now you see Ryan Leonard scores twice. He'd been banging on the door. They win a game, which is funny for Washington. They win a game despite not having that 5-on-5 advantage that we talked about, which is kind of the reverse of what we've seen from them at various points, so far this season, right? They're a good 5-on-5 team, but they've struggled to finish, and they've struggled at special teams. And I think last night was, in a lot of ways, the kind of game that we need to see from them. And we have somebody on their roster that we're going to talk about as a nice first quarter surprise in a couple minutes. The other game we wanted to mention, Wild Hurricanes, 4-3. Minnesota wins that one, but the story of it was Jesper Wallstedt, 42 saves, tied a rookie record for goaltenders. And again, we thank the NHL, as we so often do. We love them. We love the league. They do everything right. Longest shutout sequence by a rookie goaltender in nearly 10 years. He went almost 3 hours of game time going back to November 7th. That streak obviously ends last night. Minnesota ends up pulling it out 4-3 over Carolina. Jess, Wallstedt's a guy who we've heard about in some capacity. over the last couple of years. Certainly was a prime prospect. Some of the bloom came off the rose last season. What are your thoughts on him? What have you seen from him? And what do you think about the Wild's goaltending situation in general? Because obviously he's in a bit of a timeshare with Philip Gustafsson.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch him, and it's nice to see him finally living up to, and I say finally, I mean, he's still a very young goalie, like especially for goalie terms. It's not like he's behind, but last year it certainly felt like he was getting behind in terms of his development. It took him a little longer in the AHL than you'd want for an, like, I wouldn't say he spent a ton of time there, but for an elite prospect, the way he was seen coming in, it took a little bit longer there. You end up, he's stuck behind Marc-Andre Fleury, so it wasn't like there was a ton of room for him to move upward, but he wasn't playing great in the AHL. Like, he wasn't forcing their hand. You want a goalie that good to be just dominating down there and like forcing your hand, like, okay, this kid's ready. Like, we need to bring him up. He wasn't doing that. And some were wondering, like, is he ever going to live up to the talent level that we know he has? And obviously it's still early and this is only a few games, but it's nice to see it with your own eyes at the highest level. He's a huge Swedish blocking goalie. Most of these Swedish goalies play the similar style. They use their angles. They're not super active, but they just get into blocking positions and use their big frame. And he's got a big one. And man, he reads the play so well. When he's on, it just feels like there's nothing to shoot at. He's been on lately. Yeah, it's fun to see. It's fun to see a young goalie. And like, if you're the Wild long term, Philip Gustafsson probably still the starter this year. I expect him to hang on to that. He's a very good goalie. And now you've got an even younger goalie who's finally showing the promise that you'd hoped. If you're the Wild, you got to feel really good in net for the foreseeable future.
879 save percentage in the AHL last year, and that's
brutal.
in 27 games too. That's not a small sample size. That's a stinky season across the board. I know, like, we've talked about this before, you and I, about how the AHL can be challenging for goaltenders in some respect. I know you mentioned it. I think we're maybe talking about Carter Hart and stuff he could potentially see in the AHL. Is Wallstedt a guy, based on his playing style and his pedigree and all that? Is he a guy who you can imagine is maybe more apt to struggle in the AHL and then have some kind of light bulb go off in the NHL?
Yes, actually. I think he's like the prototypical goalie that is like better suited for the NHL.
Yes, I know goaltenders. I knew it. See, I knew it.
Yeah, nailed it. No, he is. It's because the plays are more predictable in the NHL. Like, for cerebral goalies who aren't overly athletic, like, I'm not saying Wallstedt isn't an acrobatic guy. He can be, but that's not his bread and butter. His bread and butter is reading the play and getting into position. And when you get to a higher level in the NHL where these plays are like, these guys are actually doing what they're trying to do and the plays develop, and if you can predict it and stay ahead of the passes, you're going to look really good. In the AHL, to me, like, if you told me what type of goalie succeeds in the AHL, I think it's more the athletic, kind of responsive goalie who's not like reading the play, but he's just reacting to it. Askarov in San Jose is a great example. Like, Jesper Wallstedt and Askarov are both kind of in the same class. They're sort of the same age. Askarov was just tearing it up in the AHL, and that's because he's so athletic that, like, in the AHL you get broken plays, you get chips in front of the net. It's not quite as predictable, and you just have to react and use your athleticism. And Askarov, like, to me, those two are just opposites on the spectrum of style, and you saw it with Askarov dominating in the AHL. Now, Askarov's also playing really well in the NHL. They're just really good goalies, but yeah, I see a world where Wallstedt just isn't built to play as well in that league, and now we're seeing him kind of living up to his potential with the big league.
The other game I wanted to mention, this is it before we go into our quarter mark discussion. I don't care about the Calgary Flames. We're not going to focus on them necessarily here. In this case, all due respect to Calgary, they scored 4 times in the third period against Buffalo last night. 4 times. I want to say it's early for people to lose their minds over what we've seen from the Sabres, but it's not, because it's of a type with so much of what we've seen from them over the last however many years. That is a humiliating loss. Drives them down to the bottom of the Eastern Conference, which, we've said it before. There's minimal separation between, the second wild card and then the bottom of the league. It's 4 points. But for the Sabres to wake up again today at the bottom of stuff after that particular loss against that particular team, man, that is incredible. We got Tage Thompson. He's seems fed up. We think we're better than we are. We got a little too high on ourselves after a couple wins. We think we're better than we are instead of remembering what got us those wins. Blah blah blah. So, man, stuff is ugly in Buffalo already. Should we be surprised by this? I feel like the answer is a resounding no. It's Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't think it would get this bad this quickly. It felt like it would be longer. Like, it felt like it was going to be further into the season when they let us down. Like, the way Alex Lyon was playing early, and obviously he's not even playing really anymore now. It's been Ellis lately and UPL who came back, and the things have just fallen apart for this team. And like you said, to lose that game in that fashion to a Flames team that we all view as like one of the worst in the league,
Mm-hmm.
It feels bad. And I don't know, they've lost a ton of I think they did get one win in there to snap the losing streak, but yeah, it's just every night, keeps getting worse for Buffalo.
Oh man. And it's the fans. I know we always got to be careful of using Twitter as any kind of true measuring stick for the fan base. But I think in this case, it's about right. Like if you just sift through the replies of anybody who covers that team, whether it's Matthew Fairburn, our guy in Buffalo, or anybody else, man, people are just losing their minds. It's a broken record, man. This is the same conversation we've had about this deal, and then it turns into how much can the fan base take, and are fans going to truly stop going to games? And then you start talking about the arena and all this, and ownership. It's just. That is a toxic situation. And again, it's November 20th, and it feels like even though they're 4 points out of the wild card, it feels like they're done like dinner, man. Ugly.
In terms of the psyche of it, like from the fans' perspective, do you think all these other teams that have kind of been in the same boat as the Sabres lately taking that step is making it worse for the Sabres fans? Like when it was like every year it was like Ottawa and Detroit and Buffalo and Montreal, and now like Ottawa made the playoffs last year, Montreal made the playoffs last year, looks awesome this year, Detroit is leading the division. All these teams that Buffalo's kind of been lumped in with have taken that step, and if you're the Sabres, you're still just sitting there. You're the only one that didn't of the group. Do you think that like makes it even worse for Sabres fans?
100%. There was that defined second class, let's say, in the Atlantic Division. The question for how many years is like, who's going to step up? Is it Ottawa? Is it Detroit? Is it Buffalo? And 2 seasons ago or whatever it was, we thought it was Buffalo, like with evidence, with reason. And it's just one thing after another, man. They keep tripping over themselves. And I think the thing that makes that situation even worse is just, there's 62 games left, and it feels like they're done. And a lot of that has to do with just it really does. It feels like psychological wounds. It feels like psychological scars where it doesn't take much to completely knock the train off the tracks. Again, this is a team that's 4 points out of a playoff spot today, right?
But
it feels like they're done. Incredible. Ugh.
It's the opposite of what I see here in Vegas. I see the Golden Knights have had a horrible start to the season, but because it's the opposite, because they always succeed, there's no like the players are like, it's not that big a deal. Like we're still going to be fine. Like there's the fans, there's no panic. It's like it's the exact opposite, and Vegas is just one example. There are plenty of teams that can get through bad stretches because they've had so much success that it like feels like it's going to be all right.
Because Vegas is a team that maximizes its players. It maximizes like a guy like Dorofeyev is like a great example, right? Like he's been a difference maker for them, and it was like he appeared out of thin air to someone who doesn't pay a ton of attention to that team. Whereas the Sabres, they have these name brand dudes in one way or another, and they don't hit the level that they're supposed to, and that starts with Tage Thompson. Frankly, like he's back to playing center again, and everyone. Owen Power, there's something not right there. You can just go down the list of all these guys that they've had that just can't quite is fair, that don't come close to reaching their ceilings, right? So you just have this culture where it's just multi-level failure, whether it's players, whether it's roster construction, whether it's ownership. Like there's so many reasons to feel horrible about that situation. And, again, November 20th, 4 points out of the wild card. it somehow couldn't feel worse. Pretty crazy. Anyways, apologies to all the Sabres fans who just had to listen to that. We're going to talk about good teams. We're going to talk about good players. We're going to talk about players who and teams who aren't disappointments coming up after the break. That's our plan, at least. Stick around. All right, we're back. We're talking quarter point shocks, quarter point surprises. I think most of these are pleasant, I would say, between teams and players. Right? We're not going.
Yeah, we went on the positive side.
We're not going to focus on the negative here, except for one team that just is burning me yet again. We'll save them for later. Jess, let's talk about the Anaheim Ducks. They win again last night, 4-3. I feel like in some capacity, we've talked about this before about the Ducks being a pleasant surprise and making that leap, but it bears repeating because they've been good in a lot of different ways, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think at this point, I know Thanksgiving is like United States Thanksgiving is like one of those points where it's like if you're in the playoffs,
real Thanksgiving. That's
right.
Real
when I have to remember my audience, but
no.
I feel like I'm already ready. Like that's like you're in the playoffs at that point. I know that's still a week away. I've been ready for, I think, over a week at this point. The Ducks are a playoff team to me. I would be surprised if Anaheim doesn't make the playoffs. I'll put it that way. They are one of the 8 best teams in the West. I think in a Pacific Division that's ripe for, like, Edmonton's off to a bad start. Vegas hasn't had the best start. LA doesn't look nearly as good. That is the division that leaves you the opening to take the step, and the Ducks have absolutely taken the step. They've done it partially how we expected, which is with like young, skilled players, Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish. Those guys are playing exactly, they're taking the step you expected them. But then they also, I feel like the bite that this team has been missing for the last few years, because there have been points where the offense looks good, but then they go up against an old veteran, like good hockey team, and they just get pushed around. But now they've got Kreider, they've got Gudas in there, they've got Granlund has looked good lately. That team, the goals they scored last night are all screens and tips and like the type of goals that a young, talented team like usually doesn't score. The Ducks look like a legitimate playoff team to me, and I think that they're like they can beat anyone right now.
I was talking to someone who's around that organization a lot recently, and the way they put it, they preface it by saying like, yes, of course, Joel Quenneville was always going to add a bunch to the group, but also like, oh my God, has Joel Quenneville added a lot? Like he's the right guy to coach that team at the right point in time. Like we saw it is somewhat predictable, right? Like I know when Dom and I were going through their season preview stuff, we had to account for what Quenneville's done in the past and the kind of stuff he's added to the points that he's added to the end result for a lot of these teams. But man, for it to happen this quickly, I mean, they're already projected in Dom's model to hit 90 points, which is that's playoff stuff, right? And that's takes into account, an outlook that wasn't particularly rosy, right? So that they've outkicked their coverage significantly enough to bank, that many points and push themselves that far up the standings. It's wild. A lot of it starts with Cutter Gauthier, by the way. We've talked about Leo Carlson plenty. I'm working on a piece on him and Celebrini and Bedard that's going to drop soon. You can't say enough about Leo Carlson, but I did want to single out Cutter Gauthier because I think, and put him under the pleasant surprise banner. 12 goals, 11 assists. He leads the league in shots. I always love seeing a young player step up and kind of enter that discussion immediately. He leads the league in shots, leads the league in shot rate. Like this is a dude who's playing with confidence and producing in a very real way. And he's a fun watch, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's confidence, like you said, green light all day. He's never seen a light that wasn't green to shoot the puck. And when you've got a shot like him, that's what you want. It's fascinating because we were kind of talking off air, and I mentioned like the Zegras trade and the Gauthier trade were obviously totally separate, unrelated trades, but it did feel like a swap of young players. And it's cool that it's worked out for both. We're seeing Trevor Zegras in Philadelphia like he's still making goalies look like fools in the shootout, which it's like a cheat code. He almost shouldn't be allowed to be in the shootout. He's so good at it. Like it doesn't feel like it's possible to stop him. But I've been watching that for however many years now, and I'm like, when is that going to show up in the real hockey? Like, and finally we're seeing it for Zegras. He's been awesome for Philadelphia, and then you see Gautheir in Anaheim succeeding. I think we all expected him to succeed. It's maybe not as surping as the step Zegras has taken, but I didn't expect it this quickly. I thought he was still another year or two away.
I obviously shouldn't say immediately. He was in the NHL last year, but for him to level up like this in his second season, I wasn't ready for that. Zegras too, man. Like you said it, but I just want to reinforce it, man. The substance that he's added to his game at 5-on-5 this year is kind of wild. Like they're winning his minutes across the board, and it's not just because he's a productive and talented and gifted offensive player either. Like he's given them some good defensive results with him on the ice, which is wild. He leads them in net rating. He leads them in game score. Like he's been their best player in a lot of respects. And given what they paid to acquire him, God bless Ryan Poehling. He's a useful player, but just the package that they sent back for that level of talent, and that level of potential, it was a risk they had to take, and it's paying off in a pretty serious way here. I think what I like most about his season so far, honestly, is that Penguins fans hate him already. Like that was when I knew there was a moment at the end of a Penguins Flyers game a couple weeks ago where Zegras, God bless him, man, he did some ratty stuff in a scrum as the game was ending, and fans in Pittsburgh, which of course I'm based here. I speak to far too many of them on a regular basis. They were like, F Trevor Zegras. Like the Flyers Penguins rivalry got like a shot in the arm from him alone. So I appreciate it, man. He's bringing a lot to the table. Let's go.
He's made it.
We're talking about Chicago too, and we don't need to hammer the Bedard point. We talked about him at length yesterday, Frankie and Sean and I. We're going to talk about him at some point again soon. There's no way to avoid the Connor Bedard discussion. Like he's been that good. But Jess, Spencer Knight, like he's a huge part of that too. And I think he's a surprising player and they're a surprising team. Tell me more about what they've gotten from him, and tell me more about, what you've seen from his game this year versus last and in years past.
Yeah, he's been awesome. He leads the league in goals saved above expected. And if he maintains that, then I think we've got, like, by the end of the season, we're going to be having the conversation, like, is he amongst the elite goalies in the league? Because he's so young. This is his first year that he's really been given the reins of a team. And we just talked about, like I said, it wasn't a trade 1-for-1. It was two separate trades, but we just talked about how that kind of worked out for both the Flyers and Anaheim. I can't think of a trade that worked out better for both teams than Seth Jones for Spencer Knight, because Seth Jones goes to Florida, gives the Panthers a couple game-winning goals. They win the cup. And the Blackhawks have their franchise goalie. I mean, I think at this point, Spencer Knight has, they gave him the contract this offseason. He's come in. He's been awesome. And in terms of what he's shown this year, what I love from his game is, so he's obviously had super high pedigree the whole way. He is a very perfect technical goalie. Like he is the goalie coach's goalie. Like you could film Spencer Knight and make training videos, like how you want every goalie to play each situation. The hesitation, like the goalie coaches that I talked to, the scouts that I talked to that had concerns about Spencer Knight, it's all about the, okay, but what about when the play breaks down? Can you get out of that structure, and can you make the save you're not supposed to make? He's a little too robotic at times. Maybe he doesn't get over somewhere because he just doesn't like to break that structure, and he's just so technical. This year, I've seen so much of that in terms of, like, the Blackhawks haven't been great defensively. They haven't been bad, like as bad as they've been the last couple of years, but they still have been kind of loose back there. And he is making the saves that you don't expect him to make. He's making those sprawling, diving saves. He's made a couple glove stops, like from his butt after a chaotic play. He has looked awesome, and he's doing all the things that you wondered if he could do. He's checking a lot of boxes. The belief in Spencer Knight is super high right now.
Almost 20 goals saved above expected. And you said for a guy who, man, that's a striking observation to make, honestly. Like, he's a guy who, can he make the save he's not supposed to make? Can he deal in chaos? Like, what speaks better to that than 20 goals saved above expected, right? Like, that says something significant.
And if the Blackhawks can continue this, awesome. Even if they don't, between Bedard and these guys, at least you're seeing the future flash, like with Knight and with Bedard. Like, whether this fizzles down the stretch or not, at least if you're a Blackhawks fan, like the last couple of years have been like, you got to wonder, like, are we ever going to turn this thing around? And so at least there's some signs that these young players can be elite.
Yeah, they're 6-2-2 in their last 2 points in their last 6. You got Scotty Powers publishing something this morning asking hypothetically if they should be buyers at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Obviously, Scott's a very rational and smart man, so he said probably not. But the fact that we can even ask that question about this team is just, it represents 2 steps up, 4 steps up. Like, when it was very, very necessary. Because if they had another season where they circled the bowl, there was going to be some tough questions that they're going to need to be asked about the players on the team, about the construction of the roster, whatever else, and they've been good. I wanted to talk about the Bruins too. I thought they were going to be terrible, honestly, and here we are. They're in the mix. They lose to Anaheim last night, but so be it. That's the way it goes. 12-10-0. Like, that's I didn't think they would be over 500 at any point this season, let alone after 22 games. A lot of that's because of Morgan Geekie, who is somehow morphed into David Pastrnak Part 2 on that team. He's tied for the league lead in goals with Nathan McKinnon and Leon Draisaitl after 2 more last night, which is wild. Big part of it's Jeremy Swayman, too. I think we've seen a bounce back from him, haven't we?
Yeah, he's been awesome. And it's nice to see after the way the first season went. He obviously was facing a lot of pressure last year between losing his kind of safety blanket and Linus Ullmark. All of a sudden, you're the guy. Then he has the holdout, which was, we don't have like ugly holdouts in the NHL very often, the way they do in like the NFL, for example. But Swayman's was about as ugly as I can remember especially from a goalie recently. And then he comes out and has just a really bad season. He didn't look himself. And then you start to wonder if you're Boston, it's like, man, did we bet on the wrong
horse? Yeah.
Right. And then he goes into the offseason. He had a phenomenal summer. I was talking to him when he was out here in Vegas. He obviously wins the world championship for the U.S. with a shutout in the gold medal game. Talk about a way to get your confidence back. And like, you don't win very much as your first year as a starter. It's a guy who's been used to winning everywhere he goes his whole life. You win that gold medal with Team USA. You feel good about your game. He comes back and man, he's looked good this year. His numbers are excellent. I think he's top 5 in the league in goals saved above expected. And when I watch him, the eye test is even more impressive than the numbers have been. He is so, I mean, it's all these American goalies. They're all kind of the same. Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, Jeremy Swayman. They are so technical. Their positioning is phenomenal. They read the play incredibly well, and he checks all those boxes. He's been really good for the Bruins, and that's kind of a sigh of relief if you're a Bruins fan that like, okay, maybe this super extension that we just signed him to isn't a total disaster. This is the goalie that we needed.
The franchise goalie looks like a franchise goalie. I think I think whatever happens the rest of the year, if they fall off or whatever, at least they're going to have that box checked again. Cause yeah, it was getting squeaky there for a bit. We got to mention Detroit too. 625 points percentage. They're first in the Atlantic Division. They're there because of their stars. They're there because they're best players. We're seeing a lot from Dylan Larkin. Max Bultman said that he's maybe having a career season. Certainly seems like that could be the case. Lucas Raymond's heating up. Moritz Seider's putting it all together after really 2 years of just finding his way in insane, like worst in the league minutes. Like that, they threw him to the Wolves 2 years ago in particular. Eased up a little bit on him last year, but that's still been a little bit of a process for him, and he's putting it together. He's a number 1 defenseman. I think that's pretty clear. They're getting good minutes from DeBrincat also. I think he's second to Gautheir in goal rate, which is big, and they've got young contributors too. There's Axel Stanion-Pellikka and plenty of guys in that regard. Emmett Finney, Like found
what a
money.
story he's
Holy
been.
hell.
Yes, 7th round pick, and like we see these late picks like turn into players, but not when they're 20. Like not doing what he's doing right now at 20 years old when he was basically an afterthought in the draft. It's been pretty cool to watch. He's been awesome.
They needed someone like that to pop too, because everyone liked their prospects. Everyone likes Marco Casper and guys like that. But I think for it to really work in any real way, they needed to get it from outside of the prospect group that we've heard about for the last however many years, whether it came from a trade or whether it came from free agency or whatever. They needed some other element added to that mix just to kind of shake it up. And it seems like Finney might be that guy. I love it, man. 7th round pick as a 20-year-old.
The team looks good. They're not doing it like some of these surprise teams that you expect to fall off. Like, it's because the goalie is hot and it's maybe not like the best goalie that you expect. Gibson and Talbot have been fine. They haven't been great. Yeah. So it's not like this is a team that's running hot that like is due for a letdown in net. If anything, I think they could maybe even get a little better from what they've played between Gibson and Talbot. So yeah, they're playing good hockey. I think this team is. I don't know if they're going to end. I mean, that division is so competitive, and
it's brutal.
Like, who knows what the Panthers are ever going to be. But yeah, they've looked good so far.
I always love mentioning good players who maybe turn into great players. Like I think that's something that's kind of overlooked. We like talking about the out of nowhere guys who level up and show that they belong in the league. That's nice. But I also think there's something to be said for guys who go from, a B- to an A- over the course of a season. I think that's what we're seeing from Shane Pinto in Ottawa. He's got 9 goals, which is nice. He's doing it in absolutely hellacious minutes. He's been one of the best defensive centers in the league, like unquestionably over the first quarter. Like if he keeps this up, he's gonna get Selke votes, and not a few either, because he's got the offensive chops to back it up, and he's got the defensive results to really make it pop. 60% expected goal share, top 10 in centers and net rating. He's top 5 in defense, the defensive net rating, which is serious stuff. And Ottawa needed someone like him, to kind of step up and add elite support potentially for the Stutzlas and the Brady Kachucks and the Jake Sandersons of the world. They needed someone to pop on that next level, and I think it's him.
He's looked great, and I didn't know that he had that gear in him defensively, like without the puck. Like I think and I think it's kind of slowed down for a while there. He was leading the league in goals, and then it kind of cooled off. But that part didn't really surprise me. Like looking every night, he's got a goal or two. That part's not surprising. But the fact that he's taking over games the way he has is, to me, almost like I have to shift my idea of what type of player Shane Pinto is. Not just how good he is, like what level he's at, but just what the archetype of player that he is 100%. Kind of changing from what I expected.
Totally. Players are allowed to get better, and they're allowed to change, and we have to adjust to that. I think as people who talk about the game and write about the game, and have to pay attention to a whole bunch of different teams, like it's easy to get a career arc or an archetype or however you want to put it. It's easy to pen someone in, and I think I was there on Pinto. Honestly, I don't know that I took him as seriously as I should have. I certainly wasn't expecting him to make like a late Olympic push here. If you want like a bottom 6 player like him, I mean, and he's doing it. He's going to fall short, sure, but the fact that he's in the discussion is wild. I also wanted to mention Jakob Chychrun. I think he's a guy who fits the mold that we talked about before. Is a good player who gets even better, and I think that's what we've seen from him so far. I was talking to Frankie Corrado about the Caps last night because he had to watch them for work purposes at TSN. He was like, "What's wrong with them?" And my answer was, basically a bunch of guys had career years last year and they haven't been able to duplicate it. And Dubois is hurt and Ovechkin was cold and blah. Like there's a bunch of different reasons why the Capitals have been just blah for most of the season so far. Jakob Chychrun isn't one of them. I think what we've seen from him is a player whose on ice performance is starting to meet his reputation. Like he was great last year, but he did it in easy minutes. And the question was always going to be, what it looked like for him playing true first pair minutes, and he's crushing them. He's played with Matt Roy for most of the last little chunk. 63 expected goals percentage with him. Washington overall is outscoring opponents 21-9 with him on the ice at 5-on-5. Like, he's turned into a full-fledged, multi-dimensional, reliable first pair defenseman. And I think it was fair to wonder, good as he was last season, if that was ever going to happen with him.
Yeah, for sure. And it couldn't have happened at a better time for the Capitals in terms of, like, John Carlson is starting to get up there in age. He's 36 now. Mm-hmm. He's still playing heavy minutes. Like, it's not like he's taken a back seat. Like, he's still playing a ton for them, and he's still a very good defenseman, but he's probably reaching the point where maybe you don't want him to be your clear-cut number one. And the fact that Chychrun can step in and be that, and now Carl, like, as a number two, as your second best defenseman, like, you're pumped to have Carlson. So yeah, I think the timing for the Capitals has worked out incredibly well with a player who's filled that role for so long for this team, now finally being able to maybe take maybe a half step back and let Chychrun kind of take control of the, like you said, the harder minutes, the tougher matchups.
Yeah, I wasn't sure he could do it. He's doing it now. Jesse, are you playing hockey in the middle of the night tonight? Do you have a 1 a.m. start or something? Great.
I think it's an 11:20 start, but we'll still be out there on the ice when it's Friday. So yeah, that should be fun.
Scary. Good luck out there. Get some sleep.
Thank you.
We're all counting on you. Hailey's up with PW stuff in the next segment. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. Season 3 of the PWHL starts on Friday. Checking in with a very sleepy Hailey Salvian from a hotel room in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Where they rolled out the red carpet for you.
Sure.
Expansion teams in Vancouver and in Seattle. That's a big part of the storylines for the season. It's certainly a big part of what you're doing with your preseason work. Is it not?
Yeah, it's been a lot. So I made this ambitious and stupid decision to write 8 season previews this year because expansion, right? I was like, well, if I do one preview story, I have to fit stuff on all 8 teams in there. I'm just not going to give people enough. It's going to be one sentence about every team, and that's just mean. So instead, I decided to write 8 specific previews on top of preview content.
I've made similar mistakes over the course of my career.
32 of them, but at least you get to work with Dom and Shayna. I've been sitting in this nondescript residence inn for days.
What's the address there, by the way?
It's 123 Boogie Woogie
1122
Avenue.
Boogie Woogie Avenue is the address.
This is my address, not Craig Cousins' address. He's next door. He's at the courtyard next door. That's where he lives, actually. It's crazy. It's a big secret.
That's where he's been?
Yeah,
the courtyard in Vancouver?
Yeah, exactly.
Dad said he was stepping out for a pack of cigarettes and he'd be right back. He's at the Vancouver courtyard.
Yeah, he's been there the whole time. I should have gotten my intern Mike Russo to help me. He was great at rivalry series. Been riding solo here for the start of the PWHL season, but it's been
making coffee, carrying laptop bags, things of that nature.
Totally. I could have used a Starbucks yesterday, and there was no intern to get me one. It was awful. So, not really rolling out the red carpet here. I'm just, to be serious though, it's been very cool. I've been in Vancouver for a couple of days, and I did a tour of the Pacific Coliseum, which is like this old iconic building here in Vancouver, and they've put $6 million worth of work to get this barn ready for the start of the PWHL season. When I say they, it's the P&E company has put a ton of money into it. New scoreboard, new lighting. We'll have a video kind of breaking down all of that in a story that I'm working on as well that'll have some video components, which I'm super excited about. But it's just been so cool to see. This is truly a women's pro hockey arena in Vancouver. It's really a first of its kind. I think even the best women's hockey markets or women's hockey programs in the NCAA, they don't even really have their own arenas because they typically share it with them. I mean, LeBron Arena exists in the NCAA at Wisconsin, and University of Minnesota, they have their own rink. But this feels different. It's bigger. It's a pro building. It's going to be packed. There's full-size Sarah Nurse, like big stickers on all the podiums, like the everything is decked out. Vancouver Golden Eyes, like they're the primary... copper piping, the the pipe work like on a ceiling in an old house. They painted it the like earthy bronze from the jerseys, like so much detail to make this the Vancouver Golden Eyes arena. It's been super cool.
It's the benefit from being the primary tenant, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool that they're doing stuff up the right way. In Seattle, of course, Seattle is playing.
Yeah, they get to play in Climate Pledge,
which is not bad either.
Stunning, yeah.
All right, I think the best way to get people ready and boned up on what's going on in the PW is to just go through a little mini power rankings here of the now 8 teams. So, are you down? Can we do this? Okay,
sure. I typically hate doing this because now everyone's going to come back and tell me that I was wrong, but I will do this.
You should do it every week, actually.
For you.
With Dom.
No, thank you.
Number 8, please, and thank you.
It's Ottawa. It's not hard. This is the bottom and the top are quite easy. There's a mushy middle that's going to be difficult for me. I might freak out a la Kit Kat of 2024.
Don't bring that up.
For the OG Thursday listeners, that was for you. You know. But it's the Ottawa Charge. They just were decimated by expansion. I don't think there's any team feeling the pain of it more than the Ottawa Charge. Like every team, they lose 4 players in the expansion draft. But it was star goalie Emrys Mashmeyer, top 4 defenders Ashton Bellin and Yetta Teralova, their second overall pick Danielle Serdachny. And then when free agency opened, Teresa Vanisheva, who led the team in scoring, and the only person who had more goals than her was Marie-Philippe Poulin last season league-wide, she signs in Vancouver. Center Cheyenne D'Arcangelo, who was the second best goal scorer on the team, she signs in Montreal, which just blew massive holes into the forward group. And then Zoe Boyd and Jinsey Rose also walked, opening up more holes on the blue line. So
Other than that, it was a pretty uneventful offseason for them, yes.
They have a goaltender who like really just dragged them through the PWHL finals.
Star turn from Gwen Phillips, wasn't it?
Totally. Gwen Phillips is great. They probably wouldn't have made it as far into the postseason as they did without her. They played in 8 one-goal games. Like every game they played in the postseason was a 1-goal game. Phillips was playing on her head. I think she's one of the best goalies in the world. And so I think Ottawa will be in the fight every night because of it. But I think they're going to play a lot of grinded out, like 1-0, 2-0, 3-2 hockey games, which is kind of where they already were last year. And this is where my big concern comes from. They were already playing in a ton of 1-goal games last season, and now they just lost like almost half of their offense. If we put together just the goal scoring from Vanisheva and D'Arcangelo alone, it's something like 22 goals lost by them. And then between all of the departures, that's 34 goals no longer accounted for, which is nearly half of the team's total offense from last season. So it's easier to win 3-2, 2-1 when you have Vanisheva again, who's scoring at a pace that's better than everyone except for the greatest player on the planet, and Cheyenne D'Arcangelo, who's just behind her. Those are significant losses, and I don't know how they're going to match or improve on last season. So they're 8th, pretty clearly for me.
Sound logic there. That sounds
Thank
like
you. Yeah.
It's 7. We have a team that has second best forward on the planet, maybe.
Yeah, on most. Yeah, and maybe this is spicy. I don't know if it should be. And New York has a lot to like, a lot of young talent. That's who I have at number 7. It's Sarah Fillier. They have Christina Kaltonkova, the first overall pick. They have Casey O'Brien, who was the best college hockey player over the last 2 seasons for the Wisconsin Badgers. There's things that I like about the New York Sirens, but I think we need to remember that they are a retooling organization at this point, and retools don't always work in year one. They lost a lot of top talent in expansion. They wanted to retool the roster, and that meant losing Alex Carpenter, losing Jesse Eldridge. Gabby Rosenthal was a really useful middle six or bottom six center. They lost their number one goalie in Corinne Schroeder. Pascal Daoust traded Abby Rock to Montreal. He traded Ella Shelton to Toronto. Like, these are original roster superstar players that are on their way out. And now Pascal Daoust, the general manager, is really handing the keys to Sarah Fillier, who like is the second or third best player on the planet right now behind Poulin. And for my money, most of the time it's Carpenter at 2, but I think Sarah Fillier can really challenge Carpenter with a big season this year. So there's a lot of young talent. They have a solid blue line, but I just think that this is going to be a team that misses the postseason for a third straight year. I think they'll be more competitive. I think it'll be like New York. And so I kind of have my ranking in some tiers here. Like Ottawa is in a tier of its own at number 8. These next two teams are probably in their own tier. And then I've got like a mushy middle, like I said. New York has some pretty clearly defined strengths and weaknesses. Their biggest strength is that they have Sarah Fillier. And as great as Culty is, as great as Casey is, like these are rookies who sometimes take time to adjust to the PWHL. Not every rookie is going to come in and tie Hilary Knight for the league lead in scoring like Sarah Fillier did last year. And I think it's unfair to expect Casey and Culty to come in and do that in year one as well. So I don't know. It's tough. They lost a ton.
Is Casey O'Brien the Philly line mate?
Ugh, for sure.
That's going to happen, right? That seems like it should.
I think it should. And I think my, not bias, but I made my opinions on Casey O'Brien pretty clear in the lead up to the draft. I thought that she should have been taken first overall. I think she was the best college player in the world over the last 2 seasons at Wisconsin. She won the Patty Kazmaier last year. No player had more points than her last season. She had 88 points in college last season. Won the Patty Kaz, won a national championship. Just a historic final season. She's an excellent playmaker. She's shown easy chemistry over her career with elite wingers of the Sarah Fillier type. Kirsten Sims at Wisconsin, Daryl Watts at Wisconsin. Daryl Watts is one of the most productive PWHL players in the short history of this league. So I think she's a pretty perfect fit besides Sarah Fillier. And I think she is, I think Kaltonkova's got pro size. She's got a pro shot. I think she's going to have a very good rookie season. But if I was a bettor, I think smart, easy money would be on a Casey O'Brien Rookie of the Year award because she's just going to eat beside Fillier all season. But there's still 7. Sorry.
Yeah, right. They're great. They're just the second worst team in the league.
It's like it's like the Macklin Celebrini is awesome and fun, but the Sharks aren't good. It's fine. Maybe they're good. I don't know.
Maybe they're good. The Hilary Knightless Boston Fleet coming in at number 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. How much of that placement is due to her not being in the mix anymore? She's obviously in Seattle as part of the expansion process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it because I don't really know who's going to consistently score goals for the Boston Fleet this season. They were a middle of the pack offensive team last year and a really top heavy one. Hilary Knight had 15 goals. That was like 20% of the team's offense. So with Knight in Seattle, there was only one forward left on this group that scored in double digits, and that's Susanna Tapany with 11. Alina Mueller had 7. So you take Hilary Knight out, and there's going to be a lot asked of Tapany and Alina Mueller. I think Susanna Tapany is super underrated still. I think she's going to come back and have another great season. There's some days where I watch the Boston Fleet and I'm like, Susanna Tapany is the best player on the planet. Like, she's big, she skates hard, she can compete in all 3 zones. Like, she's such a fun player to watch and she doesn't get enough credit. So she's going to be fine. She's going to lead that group. Boston's going to need a lot from Alina Mueller. They protected her Not just
Yeah.
over Hillary Knight, but over Hannah Bilka too.
Hannah
Like
Bilka.
superstar winger for Team USA.
They have high-end pieces at every position, don't they? I mean, like you have a good center, and then you have Tapani, and then you obviously have stars at the top of the lineup defensively and in net. That seems like a reason to like them.
Sure. Like I think Mueller and Tapani and Megan Keller and Haley Wynn will pace the offense. But is that enough when we're
Mhm.
talking about the teams that are above them? And that's the differentiation point for Boston is after the superstars, I have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Will Jamie Lee Rattray have a productive season? You would hope so. She's awesome. Like as a human, love her. But she hasn't been the most consistently productive player in the PWHL. Sophie Shirley didn't score a goal last year. Teresa Schafzel, like there's all these question marks at forward who haven't really been productive PWHL players. But yeah, to your point, Sean, like I think Megan Keller is the second best defender in the world behind Renata Fast. Like that counts for something. Erin Frankel, arguably the best goaltender, I would say. Anne-Renee Desbiens still needs to be dethroned in that regard. And it's not just because I'm Canadian. It's just because she's been there, done that for longer.
Because you're Canadian.
No, Desbiens has better stats. Look it up. Her career numbers are better. So
Really?
Frankel is too good for them to be too bad, but
Yeah.
I just have too many questions about who's going to score outside of their top players. And even those top players didn't really carry the offense last year either. So you're going to need a bit more from Mueller, a bit more from Tapani, more offense from Keller, and then hope the bottom rises up too. Like that's just a lot to ask. So we'll see.
So we're into your second tier now. There's a dividing line between the teams we've already talked about and the teams we're about to talk about. But you have Minnesota at number 5, 2-time defending champs. You have them out of the playoff picture right now. I think that's going to surprise some people.
So this is where it's tough. Like when I was ranking them and then I realized like, oh, I've run out of space.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I thought they were going to make the playoffs, but there's so many teams now. I will just spoil it. I have Seattle, Toronto, and Minnesota in one tier in the middle here. Do I think Minnesota can get in? Yes. In the preseason, I am saying no, just because I like Toronto and I like Seattle just a little bit better. The thing with Minnesota, their forward group still looks unbelievable. They had the most potent offense in the PWHL last year, and they are going to pick up right where they left off. Losing Michaela Cava stings, losing Brooke McQuigg stings, but you still have Taylor Heisey who's healthy and competent. You have Grace Sumwinkle who's healthy and playing with her bestie in Taylor Heisey. You throw rookie Abby Hustler up there who's also big, who's also hard on pucks, can also
Incredible
score.
name.
Yeah, isn't that great? You throw her up there and she's going to be great. Kendall Coyne-Schofield was the most productive 5-on-5 player in the league last year. She doesn't look like she's lost a step at all. Like they've got firepower at the forward position. Defense is a bit of a concern, which is probably why I have them 5 below a Toronto, which we can talk about later. But like Toronto has probably the deepest, or at least the best top end D. So that's the tie break for me between Toronto and Minnesota. Who gets in? Toronto gets in over Minnesota because they have Renata Fast and Ella Shelton, whereas Minnesota just has Lee Steckline. Steckline is unbelievable, like still one of the best defensive sticks in the world, but they lost Claire Thompson, they lost Sophie Jakes, they lose Melissa Channel-Watkins. Like the defense is a little bit of a concern. You lose your entire second pair, you lose 2 of 3 Defender of the Year finalists. So Minnesota's on the outside to me. Because you look at Toronto again and Renata Fast is still there. And they add Ella Shelton. Savannah Harmon's still there. Their second pair moves down to the third pair. There's way more D depth in Toronto, which is what gets them in over Minnesota for me.
They're number 4 for you.
Yeah.
Toronto.
That's
what are the Sarah Nurse exiting the Scepter? She is leading the way in Vancouver, like you said. She's got big posters and whatever else at the arena. What is Toronto going to miss with her playing elsewhere?
I think it's the totality of what Toronto's going to miss. Like Sarah Nurse is going to hurt. I think she had a great start to the season last year. She was almost a point per game player before getting injured. So you're going to miss not just like one of the most marketable stars in the world, but just a really smart and versatile player. You know, like she can play up the middle. She can kick out to the wing if you want. She can be on your top power play. She can penalty kill. She's good in the face-off dot. Like Sarah Nurse is an all-around elite player. And now the Toronto Septors are, I think, losing Nurse and losing Hannah Miller is pretty tough for their forward group. So now you're going to see a lot of players kind of moving up the lineup from depth roles. Like Emma Malte is the number one center this year now, which she is someone who's been playing like a gritty forecheck position for the Septors. So you're immediately tapping your like gritty, annoying, fun player. Like I've been doing a player poll. I can hint that here. Emma Malte is a star of the poll.
Mm-hmm.
She
I've heard.
talks a lot. People like she's tough to play against, like, but we haven't seen her have this big offensive star turn in the PWHL yet. Could be in her wheelhouse. We've seen her play that way in college, but college was also a long time ago. So right now it's looking like Watts, Malte, and Spooner are Toronto's top line, which is obviously very different than what we saw last year when we saw Watts, Nurse, and Miller together a lot before Sarah got injured. So yeah, you're gonna miss top line production and like a consistent presence as a top six center. I think the Septors look fine. I get like their blue line is unbelievable. They move on from Kristen Campbell, who had a really big back and forth season last year. They're going to have a platoon with Elaine Chuley and Reagan Kirk instead. We'll see how that works out. But I just think the star of the show is having two of the top 5 defenders in the world on 2 different D pairs. Now your reliable second pair from year 1 and 2 is now your third. So the depth there is just unbelievable.
Third place, we got the first expansion team number 1. It's the Seattle Torrent. I still don't like saying that. Mm-hmm. Not crazy about the name, let's say.
I was doing a podcast with my pal, Chris Donkin from CBC, and she said something about how that just makes her think about illegally downloading music.
100%.
And then she went like beet red and was like, not that I ever downloaded music.
You can tell Carissa like, we're outside of the statute of limitations.
I was like,
for that
you're
one.
fine. Don't worry.
She's fine. If they didn't get me, they're not going to get anybody. It's okay.
Yeah, you're fine. It's everything's okay. Yeah, I think Seattle is an interesting one because they have a superstar core. Their top line is going to be unbelievable. It's Hilary Knight, Hannah Bilka, and Alex Carpenter. Like those 3 are on the top power play for Team USA at the Olympics. Like that's a trio that could win gold in Milan if Sean gets his way. Then their second line is Julia Gosling, Danielle Serdachny, and Jessie Eldridge, all players who are 5'9" or above, who can all score, who are all tough to play against. So the top 6 is going to come in waves. I have questions about their depth. They have a lot of players who were 4th liners in the mix, either 4th liners or brand new rookies to the league, kind of mixed throughout their bottom 6, which
unproven.
Like Lexia Gia was traded from Ottawa to Boston in year 1, and I know there's a lot of devastation there because she was productive, but like 2 of her 3 goals or 2 of her 4 goals were on an empty net. So. Or you have Natalie Snodgrass, who scored 1 goal last season. So that's kind of their bottom 6, which is what has them in the tier with Toronto and Minnesota. Like there's a world in which Seattle doesn't make it, I think, if they end up being super top heavy or their bet on youth doesn't really work. Like I think Gosling, Serdachny, and Bilka are all great young players, but they haven't really shown they haven't reached their potential yet. I think Megan Turner made those are savvy picks to me because I believe all 3 of those players will be top line caliber PWHL players. But if they still take some time and they don't get there as sophomores, then you're looking at Hilary Knight and Alex Carpenter really carrying the load in Seattle. So
not a
big
bad,
bet.
Not a bad couple players to have.
Sure, but also like spot. They missed the playoffs last year. Like the teams that they led last year did not make it. So that's where the question comes in. Obviously, they're great. They're all-timers. I put them both in the Hall of Fame immediately, including Carpenter, even though she got inexplicably left off an Olympic roster in 2018, whatever awful year that was. Yeah, it was 2018. She should have been there. But I still put her in the Hall of Fame. I think they've got a great top pair. But yeah, like there was a couple bets on upside that will probably work out. But if they don't, the team's not as deep, which is why they're not in the top 2 and they're in a tier that could see them miss the postseason.
Number 2, you have a Montreal Victoire team led by a little-known, under-the-radar star by the name of Marie-Philippe Poulin.
Yeah, have you heard of her?
Vaguely.
It's because you're nasty American.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Montreal looks great. This is probably the best that they've looked on paper heading into a season. I think they addressed a lot of things that haven't worked for them in the playoffs. They haven't always scored when it matters most, which is bizarre because they have the most clutch player on the planet on their roster. I don't think Poulin will be denied a 3rd straight season. But Danielle Sauvageau went out and did a ton of work this offseason. I think it's important to acknowledge that she was able to do that because Poulin, Stacey, and Desbiens all took pay cuts. They signed extensions and shuffled some money around, so their cap hits are lower this year, which gave Sauvageau some money to go out and go to work. And with that money, she traded for Abby Rock, who is by hyperfixation in the preseason. There is nothing I'm more excited about than seeing Abby Rock in Montreal.
Abby Rock on a line with Marie-Philippe Poulin and Laura Stacey is
it's
very,
the coolest thing that's ever.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing that's happened to me in the last couple weeks. Let's just be real. I've been in the preseason trenches. I'm all in on the Abby Rock experience. It's a very sad state of my life. But she trades for Abby Rock. She signs Hailey Salvian, who's a really gritty 2-way forward, someone who will thrive in the postseason. Cheyenne Darcangelo, as we mentioned, one of Ottawa's best scoring players. But she can also be good on the defensive side of the puck. She can PK. She's a leader. Cheyenne Darcangelo is going to add a lot to the Montreal Victoire. Jade Downey-Landry, another gritty player. They have more depth. They have more versatility. They still have the best player on the planet. So I think Montreal looks awesome, even though they lost a ton. And I think there's a world in which they're the top team in the regular season again. I just don't know. It's probably easier to bet on Montreal being first because we know that they've been there, done that. Whereas Vancouver, we're still looking at them on paper. But on paper, Vancouver looks unbelievable. So
they're your number 1.
Yeah. I feel like that shouldn't be spicy. I think that was the point of the expansion rules, is so these teams could come out and be really good. And Kara Gardner-Morey hit it out of the park. I loved what she did when she was building this team. I think it was 2nd or 3rd pick of the draft. She kind of went, quote unquote, off board and grabbed a Gabby Rosenthal, or she grabbed a Denisa Kryzhova, who got traded back to Minnesota yesterday. But she went for depth and middle 6 players. And I was like, oh my God, she's saving money. What is she going to do? So not only does she sign Sarah Nurse in the initial period, she signs Claire Thompson. She signs Sophie Jakes. She gets the superstars in the first signing window. And then she leaves herself a ton of cap space to go out and sign Hannah Miller and Teresa Vanisheva and Melissa Channel-Watkins. I thought Kara did such a great job building this roster. They check just about every box. They have depth at all 3 positions. There is no major holes in the lineup. To me, this is the only team where I'm I don't love their 4th line. That's it. When I was doing my strengths and weaknesses, I was I don't have any.
Yeah, there's
they look great.
You don't need to invent them. Some teams are just built really well. So you end up spending a little bit of time talking about something minor that potentially could be better, and then you give them their due elsewhere, right? It seems like that's the case with them. That's an incredible group of players to just not pluck out of thin air, because there was intentionality to it. There was a plan on Karen Morey's part, and then there was also the rules that she was working within, but still just to see all those names on the roster is something else.
It's unreal. I have Abby Boreen on their 4th line right now, and she was taking runs with Poulin on the first line in Montreal. She played with Taylor Heisey on the first line in Minnesota. Will Abby Barine be able to be as productive in a bottom six role? I'm not sure. But like their top line is Sarah Nurse, who's the Olympic record holder in points. First line right winger is Michaela Cava, who has won 6 straight championships in whatever league she's been playing in. Like if you just follow the Cava Cup, Vancouver's probably going to win because she hasn't lost in half a decade. And then the top line left winger is Michelle Karvinen, who's the best, most productive Finnish national team player of all time. Like Hockey Hall of Famer on the top line left wing, 35 years old. That's a win now move by Kara Gardner-Murray. Like took her in the first round, was like, yep, thank you. We'll take the best Finnish player of all time. Yep.
So Vancouver has all those players. They have one of the best logos, I think, to come out of professional sports in the last however many years. The Golden Eyes is a cool name. The color scheme's fantastic. They're the primary tenant in their building. Like
that's going to be a destination. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a free agent next summer, I'm like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, sure. Signed to play pro hockey in Vancouver.
And
no problem.
Like it's such a great. When you walk out of the building, there's one gate. If you walk out and then you go down the stairs, it's just mountain view. It's like, I don't, can you see, I feel like you can maybe see mountains at Climate Pledge in Seattle. I don't remember. I haven't been there in years. But there isn't that experience anywhere else in the PWHL. Like the Pacific Northwest. And if the fans rally around these teams the way that we expect, these teams are going to be a destination for everyone.
Yeah, Seattle and Vancouver, those are 2 great sports cities to support women's sports. It's hard to see it not working. How much longer are you in Vancouver? When do you leave?
Saturday. I'll be here for the game. And then I'm going home. I've been here for days.
Enjoy your next 36 hours. And thank you to Jesse Granger, and thank you to you fine folks for listening to another episode of the Athletic Hockey Show. Prospect Boys are next on Friday. We're off for the only Thanksgiving to be celebrated in North America. Next week, Hailey and I are back on December 4th. See you then.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.